In today's episode, we are going to talk about 3 compositional photography tips to help you improve your photography skills. So, what is composition? Composition is basically the scene that you want to set. How do you want your viewer to see your image? How do you want them to travel through your image? And that is what it's all about. There are tons of compositional tricks and tips and strategies. Today, we're going to focus on 3. We're going to focus on reflection, symmetry, and framing. First up, let's go ahead and talk about reflections. You will normally see this type of photograph around water, maybe perhaps glass. Great items to go ahead and have some reflections. This was taken on the Claremont Chain of Lakes. It is taken in the little river that is on the north side of Lake Mineola. I love this image. I love the blue skies in it. I love the trees. I love the old bridge. So it just really drew me. When I saw this bridge, I really wanted the attention to go onto the bridge. So with that technique, that was the leading lines that led into that bridge. Makes you wonder what's on the other side. Today we're just going to go ahead and talk about how we have the reflections going on today. You have the beautiful blue sky with the nice fluffy white clouds reflecting back into the surface of the river. Then on the far left hand side, you guys have the trees, and there's about 4 or 5 trees, and then they're reflecting back into the water line on the left. And then you have your trees on your right. You do have those lily pads that are kind of blocking some of that reflection. However, you're still able to see the tops of the trees in there. So it's not really a completely symmetrical photograph, but it's very beautiful in general with the reflections. And then also too, you have those leading lines of the trees, and they're just kind of leading you right into that bridge. And it makes you go, I wonder where this bridge is going to take me. Like if I go through it, where am I going to go? And if you ever do go on Lake Mineola, you definitely have to go through this North River. It's a very difficult river for me to pronounce, hence the reason why I'm not saying it, but it starts with a P. So if you would like to look it up, you are more than welcome to. Next up, let's go. I have 2 images that I want to show you. It's of an abandoned church that I found on some back road because I like to end up on back roads in Florida. And I'm going to show you 2 different images, and the reason why is because I think one is better than the other. So let's look at the first image. There's nothing wrong with this image. I have it framed up kind of in the middle, but I'm on eye level, right? So it's kind of like exactly what our eyes see. You can see a little bit of the water being reflected. You can see some of the doorway, you can see some of the windows. You have a beautiful blue sky with a little bit of a cloud there, but it's kind of like what we see on a normal basis when we're walking around day to day. Now, I went ahead and I got a little bit closer to the water, and I went lower with my camera, giving us a different perspective. And now you're able to see a little bit more of the church reflected into the water. So I found this to be a little bit more of an interesting shot versus the first one. Now, next up is symmetry. Symmetry is when we have things matching equally on each side. And you are going to find this particular strategy often used when you are around water, or it may be in like a cylindrical surface that you may see, or maybe a butterfly or something along those terms, something that mirrors each other. And that's what you're going to find with symmetry. So that's why, especially with water, it's very easy to kind of mimic and make that symmetrical look. When you look at this particular image, you see trees. It's not like a whoa kind of photograph, but it was an example photograph for you all. You have the trees and they're lined up, and when you look in the water and then you look at the top, it is very symmetrical. Everything is matching there. The one thing that I would do with this photograph, I did not straighten out the horizon line. So it's a little tilted, so you're a little like, with the photograph. So what I would do to improve this particular photograph is straighten it out. When you look at this particular image, you notice that for the most part, it is symmetrical. Everything is matching up. You have the purple tree on the far left-hand side matching up with what is in the water. You have the green tree next matching on the top with the bottom, and then that kind of the reddish orange tree that you have there, it's matching in the water. The only part that's not really overly matching is where you have that grassy the grassy area. Notice that where the land actually is, it's a lot better than what is being reflected into the lake. But these were the best images that I found. These I pulled from 2017 to be able to show you a good symmetrical looking image. If you are finding value in this, please make sure you go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for me. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about framing. In this particular image, I was standing on the bank and I was looking through these trees, and I kind of saw that bend going around the corner, and I was like, oh wow, it's like, I wonder what's around the bend. So I went ahead and framed up the shot so that you could see the waterway being very big, and then it just kind of narrows into right where the bend is, and then you go around the bend. So this whole particular photograph was all about directing your eye to that bend and then going around the bend, because you never know what's around the bend. So that was this particular image, using framing as a way to direct the eye of your viewer. This is an image of an old house. Even though it's not a complete, what I would call a perfect frame on it, it has the framing aspects to it. You have the tree on the far left that's coming up and kind of coming over the roof. That to me was like almost the perfect part of the frame, right? Because the tree on the right is kind of directing your eye directly into the porch. However, I do feel like this is a good example of framing, because really your eye is being drawn to that house. You have these plants here in the front with no flowers, and then a step up to the bushes with the flowers, and then you go right into the house. So I do feel like, even though it's a little choppy on the framing, it's definitely got enough framing to go into that house. Because if I had stood a little bit further over to the left, I would have had that left tree in shot, and then it would have been a different, like a different photograph that you're looking at, as opposed to this one where it has the framing to draw your eye right into the house. Now, the next photograph is going to be the last photograph of the day. And this one is one of my favorites. I took it off of, I was kind of hanging off the side of the boat for this one. You have this twig on the top, and it's reflecting into the water. So there is your framing of the flower. And you also are getting symmetry here because of the framing of the twig, and then also you have your flower that is also reflecting. So you're getting reflecting, symmetry, and framing all in one image. It's not like a completely symmetrical image, because why? Because you have the lily pads in the back and everything, but where the flower is and the twig is, you're getting some symmetrical look there. Thank you for joining me today. I really greatly appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you next week. So see you later, alligator.